Hey, good morning, David. Or should I say good morning, ABC star? I hear that someone's going to be on ABC News this morning.
Yeah, we filmed a segment for Good Morning America in January, and we had some delays from the producers having some stuff that distracted them. But yeah, it got aired this morning. It's about the spine surgery aspect of what we're doing. And as you well know, I think probably 70% of spine surgery should not be done. And
Yeah.
just to jump to today's topic, which is about body image issues, what I eventually found out over a very long period of time that we're doing spine surgery on anxiety,
Mm.
right? And we now know from the way the brain processes information that mental pain, emotional pain goes to the same part of the brain as physical pain. Process
Yeah.
the same area, you get the same chemical response. And the problem, of course, is that you can't escape your thoughts.
Yeah.
So what we're talking about today is our body image issues. And I don't want to call it body dysmorphia because everybody has these issues. It's a neurological trick. And it's just this simple thing. We try not to think about something, you think about it more. But the research, though, shows that there's a trampoline effect where we think about it a lot more, a
Yeah.
lot more. And so everybody has one part of the body that they don't like. Maybe it's a little bit, maybe it's a lot. And what's very ironic is that the more you are using your parents, for instance, high level models, I cannot understand why so many of them had severe eating issues, cutting issues, body image issues. But the more your identity is wrapped up in your body image, the worse it is because you have more parts of your body that may not be perfect because you're focused on it.
Yeah.
So it's really ironic because I was thinking, well, God, if I said a tenth of the looks of one of these models or one of these big football players, I'd be a happy guy. It's actually the opposite effect. So yeah, people like me whose body image is so bad it doesn't matter.
Oh, come on, David. So, but I
I'm
think,
kidding. I mean, it's just universal. I mean, that's the way it's just a neurological trick. Then people try all these things to try to compensate for it. And of course, the marketing people come in and really remind you how really unpleasant your looks are. And
yeah,
we're going to fix you with a product, right?
yeah, absolutely. I think, David, one of the things I want to jump in here and say this is going to sound funny. Maybe the audience will go like, oh, come on. So I know this sounds silly because I've done it to myself too, not liking a particular body part. And for that matter. So the part that I want to emphasize to the audience is this: is when you can fully and completely, or as best as you can, accept yourself as you are, you actually drop the fight.
Right.
Because the reality is this is where you are. For example, David, a lot of my patients, because of COVID and other factors, including chronic pain, have put on weight over a period of 10, 15, even 20 years, and even a year ago. So my point here is this: is when a certain body part that you don't like shows up, there's an inner critic that shows up also that starts to berate us and punish us. It's almost like what we would call the destroyer, something that is destroying you. But the key factor here, which everyone needs to know and ask, is what is this really trying to protect me from? What is this noise in my head really about? And most people do not know how to unblend or diffuse from that inner critic that says, you don't look so good here. Look how big this nose is, or whatever it is, right? So I think that's the point you're trying to make. You're trying to make is, look, when you try to use distractions, you're basically fighting, and you call it the phantom brain pain. Is that right? What do you
Right.
call it?
Right.
Can
Well,
you
we all
tell us
know
what
about
that is, David?
yeah, we know about phantom limb pain where you have a leg or arm that's gone. And 95% of people have phantom sensations. Over 50% feel the leg exactly the same way it was and the pain. And so how can that be? Well, you have these circuits programmed in your brain and they don't stop. So just because the leg is gone, it doesn't matter. So that can occur in any part of your body. But with thoughts are as concrete as a chair or a table. We know the neuroscience research shows that thoughts become embedded in your brain.
Yeah.
And so when you think the thoughts or suppress the thoughts, why they become stronger and stronger and stronger. It's a neurological trick. And
Mm.
so the metaphor we've used before is that of a little dust devil on the prairie that spins around. You can't stop it. And so what we do as humans is we do endless conscious things to deal with these unresponsive circuits. So they're spinning away and we're trying to deal with these things. And what the paradox is, going back to your patient, is that you gain weight or you don't exercise or don't do whatever you're supposed to do, then the self-critic comes into play. then the cell critic just drains the life right out of you because it actually causes physiological changes that saps your energy. Your metabolism's up, your inflammatory markers are up, and you don't have the energy to actually do what you're supposed to do. So it's a huge cycle. But I think the one thing I want to say today is that a couple things. First of all, it is a neurological trick, and you can read about that more as you work with us. Secondly, it's not responsive to rational control. And third of all, it's universal. You are not alone. And so
Yeah,
by understanding the problem, there's a chance of a solution. And what it's not the solution is trying all these things to outrun your mind. You cannot outrun your mind. So
yeah,
I'm going to give my suggestion, and you have some really great ideas also, is that this is where the expressive writing comes into place. And I know I say this endlessly over and over and over again, but what
yeah.
you're doing when you write, you're giving up that need for mental control. And it's a profound effect. And it's not the final solution, but it is the necessary starting point.
Right on, David. I think
So
that's
you
beautifully
just got to
said.
just do it. Just do the expressive writing. We'll keep talking about this over and over and over again. It's the one thing that pulled me out of a 15-year tailspin in chronic pain, including body image issues. I mean, we all have these things. So that's just a gut level starting point. Then you have some thoughts less about, welcoming in the unwelcome.
Yeah.
There's a
So a
lot,
couple.
lot, lot of strategies that you have that I think are very helpful.
Yeah, I think it's strategies that people will hear and go like, yeah, it doesn't work. And it's kind of like this. It's like watering a plant, a seed. You plant a seed, you water it once, you turn around, you walk back and go like, where's my fruit? It was an apple seed. So in psychotherapy and a lot of the work we do, repetition is the drive changer of the nervous system.
Right.
And so if we want the brain to change or the body to change, it requires you to be repetitious. And one of the most important things, David, to really really emphasize this point is when you can actually love yourself as you are in the present moment. It's very difficult because you have a punishing thought. So first strategy that I teach, one of the first strategies is to notice that something is pushing you around. And then what I want them to do is usually tell them, my patients, let's just say I don't like my nose, right? So my nose, I don't like my nose. And so I try to avoid looking at pictures of my nose, pictures of myself, whatever it is, or in the mirror. And so whenever I look at it, I hear a thought or this punishing thought. First step, notice that there's something, not you, but noticing there's the mind is saying that. Step two, take that thought. This is the cool part. Take that thought and locate it. Notice where in the body it's showing up. It's kind of a hard one. So again, if you go like, I'm so stupid, I'm so ugly, or I'm so overweight, whatever it is, you want to take that thought, step one, notice it, step one. Step two, locate it where in the body you feel the tension of it. And step three, notice the emotion that's there and to even put your hands over it, wherever you feel it in your body. Let's just say you're sad about this. You put your hands, you're making that thought more physical, and then you can work with it with your breath. So that's a mindfulness approach. One of the internal family systems approach, we would say we would actually talk to the part that's trying to destroy us and punish us,
Right.
call it protector. We would say is, what are you trying to protect me from? Find out what that voice is trying to do and find out why it's trying to punish you, because it's usually not your voice, it's someone else, like a parent or someone who had put you down.
Let me ask you a question that you may not totally agree with me on, because I'm actually struggling with this whole concept myself of phantom brain pain versus loving yourself. So my concept from what you just said, you have these spinning circuits that are not responsive to active control. So when you talk about loving yourself, you're actually somewhat de-energizing the circuits, and then you're finding out who you are between the circuits.
Mhm.
You're waking up that part of your brain that's good. You're not going to fix these circuits because that takes your energy. But as you connect with that part of who you like and love, that to me seems what you're saying. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think it's a fair statement. The average person who doesn't know the workings of what we're just talking about is when you try to avoid it, when you're trying to force yourself to love yourself, you get this backlash. This is why I use one of the sentences here. Even though I may not like, maybe you would fill it out. Start with a negative sentence. Even
Right.
though I don't like my nose, I am working towards accepting myself. See,
Right.
that neutralizes that. That's one way to do that. Another way to neutralize that sort of polarity is I must love myself is I prefer to love myself. That's a neutral statement that your brain will actually pick up on, as opposed to I must and I should. I
Right.
prefer. Another one, just to emphasize this, is part of not triggering the opposite effect. You're trying to love yourself and you get this hate. No, I'm disgusted. When you can actually just sit in the middle of the storm of your thoughts, you will not activate what we call the ironic process, where
Right.
it's the more you try to love yourself, the worse it gets. So this is why I take the thought of I am feeling overwhelmed about something on my body or whatever it is, and I come back into my body. When you start to kind of work with it and sit with it versus try to push or pull in good thoughts, push
Right.
bad thoughts, that produces it. But when you sit in the middle of the storm of your thoughts, just with your breath, just noticing where it is, you start to neutralize it.
Right. And I want to emphasize again, this is not about the psychology of it, which is important, but it's about calming down your body's physiology, your inflammatory markers, your metabolism, just the way your body is in a given day. You want to come out of the fight or flight and into the neutral zone or the safe zone. So Les, this is great. We are going to stick on this topic for a few weeks, probably on just different parts of these obsessive thought patterns. And body image is just one of the issues. Tomorrow we're going to start talking about eating issues. And there's lots of things, there's lots of manifestations of this problem, but it boils down to obsessive thought patterns. So this is dynamic healing moments. The reason why we call it dynamic healing is we're looking at the interaction between your circumstances and your nervous system. Then the output is what it is. So you can control, you can interact with all three of these things. So we're excited about it. We're seeing a lot of success with our patients consistently. We're actually seeing success with ourselves a little bit. I mean, even we're salvageable.
I think we are.
So,
Yeah,
so we're
absolutely.
excited about it. We're pleased to be able to share some of our thoughts with you. And even today, just I like talking with Lex because I get to learn a bunch of things I just wasn't familiar with, especially as an orthopedic spine surgeon about ACT. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So for a surgeon, act means you just take an act and act on it, right?
Hey, but we don't, hey, but on a passing note, we want to make sure that folks tune into the ABC. So for those of you listening right now, as we're tuning out and saying goodbye and wishing you a great morning, I want you to tune in. David, will the link, some people may not be able, will the link for the ABC News that you're going to be on, the guru is going to be on, I got to tease him. David, where can they find the link?
So I will put the link up on Facebook in a few minutes. I just got the link sent to me. So it's a segment on basically the healing process, spine surgery, and the fact is that we can do this much, much better than we are. And as you know, I quit my practice to do this. And I was just seeing so many people get better with no risk and it's self-directed. And I was seeing so many people badly damaged by surgery they did not need. I quit my practice. And I loved my practice. I quit right. It was a great team, nice results. But I just get overwhelmed with the number of people that are being hurt badly by spine surgery. So that's what this is about. I wrote a book called Do You Really Need Spine Surgery? And it breaks the decision making down into two basic components, and it's a quick read. So please don't do spine surgery without figuring this out.
About reading your book and watching the news, ABC News, folks.
So anyway, so you find Les Aria at remedypain.co, and I'm at thedocjourney.com. And there's lots of resources there. And this is not so hard to solve. Once you understand the problem, this is easier. As many of my successful people have said, this was disturbingly simple.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of unnecessary suffering out there. And the solution is just not that difficult. Right. All right, let's have a great day. And we'll talk soon.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great day, everybody.